My sister once dragged me to an upscale restaurant, ordered enough food for an army, and then tried to make me split the exorbitant bill. I flat out refused. The next time we met, she conveniently forgot her wallet, but she had a big surprise waiting for her. I'm Mason, 29, living in Chicago. My work in tech isn't glamorous, but it's stable, pays well, and allows me to live comfortably, travel, and pick up a tab without a second thought. I'm not married, don't have kids, and my life isn't particularly extravagant. My philosophy has always been simple: be generous, but also fair. This story is about my older sister, Stephanie, who's 33. For the past decade, she's navigated life as if it were her personal reality TV show, with everyone else simply part of her supporting cast. She calls herself an interior designer, but, in reality, it's a sporadic gig, mostly involving family friends. She strong arms into letting her arrange throw pillows or pick paint swatches. This wouldn't be an issue if she lived within her means. Instead, Stephanie glides through life on a shaky foundation of maxed-out credit cards, emotional blackmail, and an absolute conviction that others, especially family, should bail her out when her house of cards inevitably crumbles. Her parents, bless their hearts, enabled her to a fault. It began subtly, a few hundred here, covering a surprise overdraft fee there, conveniently overlooking her borrowing mom's car for a weekend and returning it 4 days later empty and with a parking ticket. As we grew older, her demands became bolder: rent money, spa gift certificates as early birthday presents. Once, she even convinced our dad to co-sign a lease for a car she clearly couldn't afford. Unsurprisingly, he ended up making the payments when she defaulted. I mostly kept my distance, living on the opposite side of the city and keeping our interactions brief. I've always had a low tolerance for drama, and Stephanie is, in essence, chaos in heels. About 3 weeks ago, she texted me out of the blue, asking to grab dinner. Immediately, a red flag went up. Stephanie never reaches out without an agenda. But a sliver of hope, perhaps naive, wondered if she truly wanted to reconnect. It had been over a year since we'd had a one-on-one sibling dinner, and I thought maybe, just maybe, this was her attempt at building a mature relationship. Against my better judgment, I agreed. She chose the place, a swanky Italian restaurant, downtown, the kind where waiters wear suits. The wine list boasts vintages older than me, and pasta portions are tiny but cost more than my week's groceries. We met at 7:30. Predictably, Stephanie arrived late, sweeping in like a celebrity dodging paparazzi, sunglasses on despite the dark, chirping about a slow Uber and her crazy day. She was dressed to perfection, expensive shoes, designer bag, full glam. I wondered, as I always do, how she financed this lifestyle on what barely qualified as part-time income. The moment we sat down, I got an unsettling feeling. She snatched the wine menu before I even had a chance to remove my coat, then flagged down the waiter as if he were her personal aide, ordering a bottle of something I didn't recognize. Next came the appetizers, not one, not two, but three. Burrata calamari and a truffle mushroom dish that looked more like modern art than food. "What's the occasion?" I asked, assuming a celebration. She laughed. "Can't a girl enjoy a night out with her baby brother?" That rubbed me the wrong way. I'm almost 30. I haven't been her baby brother since she treated me like her unpaid intern in our teens. Still, I let it slide. When the waiter returned, she ordered a seafood pasta with lobster that, I kid you not, cost $58. I kept it modest. A $22 rigatoni with short rib and 1 glass of wine. As we waited, she stayed glued to her phone, barely making conversation unless it was to complain about being tired or feeling unappreciated. By the time the food arrived, I was ready to eat quickly and leave. Stephanie, however, treated the evening like a private tasting. She took tiny bites between long Instagram scrolling sessions, flirted with the waiter, and even asked for the dessert menu early. I finished my pasta. She was barely halfway through hers when she snapped her fingers for the waiter and ordered a slice of tiramisu and a lemon tart to go. "One's for later, for Netflix," she announced. Then came the bill. The second the waiter placed the leather folder on the table, Stephanie shoved it toward me without a glance inside. She smiled. "We'll just split it, right?" I paused. I picked up the bill. It was $263.47. I'd done some quick mental math throughout the evening, and my portion, my entree, my wine, and the tip I'd planned came to about $70. I looked at her. She was casually sipping the last of her wine, scrolling through her phone, acting as if she'd just bestowed a magnificent favor upon me by gracing me with her presence. Calmly, I put the bill down. I'll pay for my portion, I told her, but I won't cover the rest. Without raising my voice, I explained that she had ordered nearly everything on the table. This wasn't a shared decision to splurge. It was her personal buffet. Her face changed instantly. The sweet smile vanished, replaced by utter disbelief, as if I had just slapped her. Are you serious? She snapped. You're going to make your own sister pay for dinner? That's so cheap, Mason. It's family. Still calmly, I replied that being family didn't mean subsidizing her lifestyle. I reminded her that she invited me, chose the place, ordered half the menu without consulting me, and now wanted to pretend we shared the expense equally. I wasn't playing that game. She kept pushing, claiming she had no cash, her card was acting up, and that I was making a scene. I told her I wasn't the one making a scene, I was simply refusing to be manipulated. I placed $75 into the bill folder, informed the waiter I was covering my part, and stood up. Stephanie remained seated, fuming, alternating between guilt-tripping and feigning embarrassment. I hope you enjoy your Netflix desserts, I told her, and walked out. Later, our cousin told me Stephanie had to call her on the spot to Venmo the remaining amount because her card kept declining. 2 weeks after the Italian dinner debacle, just as I was starting to forget about it, Stephanie texted me. She wanted to meet for brunch to talk things over. That alone should have been my red flag. Stephanie never just talks. Yet, a part of me, the part that remembered her as my older sister, the one who walked me to school and let me stay up late watching movies, thought, maybe, just maybe, she was ready to apologize. So, I agreed. She, naturally, picked the spot, a trendy brunch cafe on the north side, the kind with lines around the block and dishes garnished with edible flowers. I arrived on time. She was already seated at a corner table, sunglasses on indoors, poring over the menu as if it were a wedding planner. She greeted me like nothing had happened, as if we hadn't just had a public argument over a $260 dinner bill 2 weeks prior. She even complimented my shirt, which felt so out of character I half expected. Hidden cameras. We ordered Shagat avocado toast, a mimosa and a chia pudding parfait for later, because apparently desserts are necessary even before noon. I kept it simple, coffee and eggs. While we waited, she made awkward attempts at conversation, asking about work, feigning interest in a trip I'd planned. Not once did she bring up the dinner, offer an apology, or acknowledge the public tantrum she threw. I played along, observing. It wasn't anger anymore. I was past that. It felt clinical, like watching a wild animal try to mimic human behavior. The brunch was pleasant enough, and for a moment, I even wondered if I'd been too harsh, if this was her subtle way of mending fences. Then the bill came. It was like clockwork. The waiter set down the check, and as if an invisible director had cued the scene, Stephanie began digging through her purse with increasingly exaggerated movements. She rustled through her wallet, opened and closed compartments, flipped it upside down and shook it. Then, wide-eyed and innocent, she looked up at me. Oh no, I forgot my wallet. There it was. The routine, the same tired manipulation, just in a new outfit, served with a side of organic berries. She stared, waiting for the familiar script to unfold, for me to sigh and say, "Don't worry, I got it." As I had countless times before, her audacity was no longer surprising. It was simply exhausting, but I didn't flinch. I just looked at her, kept my voice even. "That's fine," I said, reaching into my own bag. She blinked, confused, as if she couldn't fathom what I might pull out. Then, I produced a neatly folded piece of paper and laid it on the table in front of her. It was a printout of an email she'd sent me a year ago. The subject line, "Please help. Just a little short this month." The body was filled with desperation, claiming she was behind on her utility bill, that her lights were about to be shut off, promising she just needed a one-time loan to get through a rough patch. She swore, in all caps, that she'd pay me. Back in 2 weeks. It was heartfelt, emotional, and convincing enough that I'd sent her $480 that very day. She never paid me back, not a single dollar. When I'd asked about it months later, she acted like I was crazy for even bringing it up, claimed she thought it was a gift, said I was being petty, then ghosted me for weeks. I had clearly labeled the paper, "Stephanie Wilson declined payments. Collection notice." I watched her face as she read it. The fake innocence drained from her eyes almost instantly. Her cheeks flushed, her lips tightened, and she sputtered out an excuse, muttering about how that was different and how she was going through things back then. I didn't argue. I simply told her, in the calmest tone possible, that I'd be more than happy to pay for this brunch if she could settle her outstanding $480 debt right then and there. Venmo, Zelmo, Cash App, her choice. She stared at me, stunned, utterly caught off guard. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Then she stood up, grabbed her worn purse, and stormed out of the restaurant without another word. No thank you, no apology, not even a final insult. Just the sound of her heels clacking against the tile floor as she left me sitting alone. I paid the $50 bill, tipped the server generously, and walked out without a second glance. I didn't feel triumphant or angry. I felt done. I considered it the last straw. About a month after the brunch incident, the one where my sister Stephanie tried her usual wallet stunt, I'd mostly put her out of my mind. I figured our relationship was finally cooling to a healthy distance. I was wrong. Then came her birthday. Stephanie was never the quiet dinner and cake type. Every year she treated her birthday like the Met Gala, an overthought theme, a strict dress code, a rented venue, and a heavy, unspoken expectation that everyone involved would spend money. Lots of it and ask no questions. Historically, she'd pulled it off, not by paying, but by a combination of guilt-tripping, emotional manipulation, and last-minute pressure, ensuring someone else footed the bill. This year was no different. She sent an invitation to about 20 people, including me and our cousin Jenna, for a Saturday night rooftop party at a sleek bar downtown. The kind of place with skyline views, overpriced cocktails, and a dress code that screamed Instagram first, comfort last. The invitation itself was flashy, even for her. Glittery fonts, phrases like birthday queen vibes only. What it notably didn't include was any mention of who was paying for the rooftop space, the drinks, or the food. Just a time, a place, and the assumption we'd all show up and bask in her glory. Knowing her, I was almost certain she had zero intention of paying a dime. I knew her game. Invite everyone, dress up the event as if it were all handled, and silently bet that someone, probably me or Jenna, would step in to avoid the profording embarrassment of a ruined party once the bill arrived. It was her favorite maneuver: wait until the last minute, play the victim, and let someone else clean up her mess. She'd played it her whole life and gotten away with it countless times. But this time, I had a plan. The day before the party, I called a rooftop bar. I introduced myself, explained I'd been invited to a birthday party there the next evening, and said I just wanted to confirm how the reservation was being handled, and more importantly, who was listed as the payer. The woman on the phone paused. "Oh yes, Stephanie Wilson's party," she said. "She reserved the rooftop space for Saturday night. It's a $900 deposit. According to the notes, her brother would be handling the payment, but no one has paid it yet." There it was, the trap already sprung. She was dangling me in front of this venue like a human credit card. No warning, no conversation, just Stephanie being Stephanie, assuming I'd either pay or be too embarrassed to let the whole thing fall apart. She was banking on my shame to do the heavy lifting, so I told the bar manager to cancel the reservation. She hesitated, asking if I was sure. "Absolutely," I said. "If no one has paid the deposit, there's no reason to keep the space blocked off." I thanked her for the information and hung up. Then I texted Stephanie, "I have a surprise planned for your birthday. Can't wait for you to see it. It's going to be unforgettable." She replied with 3 heart emojis and a champagne bottle gif. She didn't suspect a thing. The next evening, I dressed in casual but decent clothes, nothing flashy, because I knew how the night would unfold. I picked up 2 dozen gourmet cupcakes from a local bakery, even made little signs with her name on them. I met Jenna and a few others outside the bar about 20 minutes before the party was supposed to start. I gave everyone the rundown. They all agreed to follow my lead. They were tired of Stephanie's antics too. She'd pulled similar tricks on half of them at some point. Then we waited. At exactly 7 p.m., Stephanie arrived in full glam, hairstyled to perfection, heels that probably cost more than my monthly utilities, and a glittering dress that looked custom-fitted for a photo shoot. She was beaming, radiating main character energy, walking up to the entrance like she owned the entire rooftop. Trailing behind her were about 20 people, some friends, some co-workers, some poor souls clearly lured by promises of bottle service and panoramic views. She approached the hostess and gave her name with the kind of confidence born from a lifetime of pretending everything is handled. Then came the moment of truth. The hostess looked down at her screen, then up, then down again. "Are you sure there's a reservation under that name?" she asked. Stephanie's smile wavered. She repeated her name, a little slower, as if it differently might alter the system's response. The hostess checked again, then calmly informed her there was no reservation, that the rooftop was booked for a private event by someone else, and while she was welcome to stay at the main bar downstairs, the upstairs space was not hers. You could feel the shift in the air. A few people in the group exchanged glances. Stephanie's smile froze. Her confidence cracked. She turned to Jenna, then to me. But I hadn't arrived yet. I was waiting for the perfect moment. I showed up 20 minutes later, holding a cupcake tray in each hand, smiling like it was the best day of my life. I walked right up to the confused and murmuring group. Surprised, I announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. Plan B. We're heading to the taco truck on 5th, and then back to Jenna's place for cupcakes and music. Let's go, people. People blinked. Then someone cheered. A few others laughed. Just like that, the group moved. They followed me down the block toward the taco truck. Jenna and I had already scouted earlier, where we'd arranged for party trays and discounted drinks. From there, we headed to Jenna's apartment, where she'd set up lights, a playlist, and plenty of space to celebrate without anyone being forced to pay a surprise $900 fee or deal with Stephanie's royalty complex. Everyone followed me except Stephanie. She stayed at the bar, completely humiliated. After the rooftop party collapsed, I figured Stephanie would retreat into radio silence, licking her wounds and plotting some elaborate comeback to restore her image. I was wrong. Less than 48 hours after the birthday debacle, she came out swinging, not at me directly, but in the family group chat. A thread that, until then, had mostly consisted of birthday reminders, blurry dog photos, and passive-aggressive suggestions about who should host Thanksgiving. She dropped a bomb in the middle of it. She started by accusing me of sabotaging her birthday, claiming I had hijacked her guest list, intercepted her event, and plotted to humiliate her. She framed the entire taco truck redirect as a calculated, malicious act born out of jealousy, claiming I had a problem with her success, her confidence, her social life, that I had tried to isolate her from her friends and family. She even said I had stolen her party, as if joy and tacos were legally hers by divine right. It was the kind of meltdown you usually only see on reality TV, dramatic, paranoid, and wildly disconnected from the truth. She painted herself as the victim of elaborate betrayal, comparing me to an emotional arsonist who burned bridges for fun. I didn't respond. I had no interest in arguing. I had already played my hand and walked away. But then Jenna stepped in. She wasn't having it. Jenna had always been the peacekeeper in our family, the mediator, the one who smoothed things over when Stephanie went too far. But this time she went in hard. No emotion, no sarcasm, just cold, undeniable facts. First, she dropped a screenshot of the original bar reservation confirmation. It clearly listed Stephanie as the organizer, and under payment details, it explicitly stated, "Brother to provide card on site." Not my name, not my consent, just an assumption typed into an email. Then she shared a text Stephanie had sent her 2 days before the party, asking if Jenna could spot her $300 for the cake, because she had some cash flow stuff and would Venmo it back Monday. That cake never existed. Next came the most damning receipt, a screenshot of a message Stephanie sent me last year after I reminded her about the $480 utility loan she never paid back. She had written, word for word, "Honestly, I ghost people who expect me to repay small loans. It's just weird energy." That one shut the whole thread down for a full 5 minutes. My mom replied first, with just one word, "Stephanie." Then silence. A long, uncomfortable silence in a chat that used to buzz with small talk. My dad didn't say anything that day. The next morning he messaged me privately with just 10 words. "You've put up with enough. I'm proud of you, son." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I was done. Stephanie predictably left the group chat, no goodbye, no explanation, just vanished. A digital Irish exit. But her retreat didn't stop the fallout. She started texting Jenna privately, accusing her of betrayal, claiming she exaggerated the situation and had humiliated her in front of the whole family. Jenna didn't respond either. She had said what needed to be said, and the evidence spoke for itself. Then Stephanie turned to our mum, trying to tug at her heartstrings. She told her I was being cruel, that I had planned this humiliation for weeks, and that I was cutting her out of the family. My mum, to her credit, tried to keep the peace, but even she couldn't deny the evidence Jenna had shared. She told Stephanie it was time to take responsibility for the way she treated people, that maybe the issue wasn't everyone else. Stephanie didn't like that. She started calling other family members an aunt in Michigan, a cousin in New Jersey, spinning versions of the story where she was the victim of a smear campaign, claiming I was trying to ruin her reputation, that I had always been jealous of her, that Jenna was turning people against her out of spite. Most of them didn't engage. A few sent me polite messages asking what really happened. I forwarded Jenna's screenshots and didn't say a word. They didn't message back after that. For the first time in years, the narrative wasn't hers to control. There was no way to twist the truth when the receipts were staring everyone in the face. No more pretending, no more emotional blackmail, no more carefully choreographed chaos disguised as miscommunication. Stephanie had built a house of mirrors, twisting every situation to make herself the victim and everyone else the villain. But the mirrors cracked that weekend, and when people finally looked through the shards, they didn't see her reflection anymore. They saw a pattern, a long, exhausting, years-old pattern of manipulation, guilt trips, financial exploitation, and emotional theatrics dressed up as bad luck. People were finally seeing her pattern. Fast forward 2 months, I hadn't heard much from Stephanie since the family group chat blew up. No texts, no calls, no surprise invitations to overpriced restaurants or last-minute guilt trips about family loyalty. It was quiet, eerily so, given her usual level of drama and noise, the kind of silence that doesn't announce change, but instead hints at the crash after the storm. Then last week, she showed up at my apartment. No warning, no call ahead, just a knock on my door at 6:30 in the evening. I opened it to find her standing there, arms folded tightly across her chest, shoulders hunched, as if carrying something heavy that wasn't physical. She looked different, not like she'd fallen apart, not like the train wreck people sometimes expect after everything unravels, but smaller, dimmer. The polish was gone. The usual Instagram-ready makeup had been replaced. With under-eye circles, her hair was thrown into a bun that looked more functional than styled. She wasn't wearing heels or anything remotely glamorous, just jeans, an oversized hoodie, and a kind of exhausted expression that needed no explanation. She didn't ask to come in. She didn't need to. Her eyes did all the talking. I let her inside. She stepped past me quietly and sat down on the edge of the couch as if it might disappear beneath her. I waited. She finally said it. She'd been evicted. She hadn't paid her rent in over 3 months, had been dodging her landlord's calls, then came home one night to find her belongings boxed up in the hallway. Apparently, she'd asked a few friends if she could crash with them people used to party with, brunch with, tag in story highlights. None of them picked up. Some read her messages and didn't reply. Others blocked her altogether. She had run out of safety nets. She was hoping I'd let her stay with me, just for a few nights. She didn't say it with arrogance or entitlement. There was no fake sweetness or overused phrases about how family sticks together. She said it like someone who already knew the answer but had nowhere else to turn. And I let her sit there in that discomfort. Then I told her the truth. I reminded her, not with venom, not with rage, but with facts, that she still owed me over $400 from a year ago, that she had tried to trick me into covering her birthday party, that she had lied to the bar, left me hanging with brunch bills, and spun stories to our parents to make herself the victim. I told her she had spent years using people until there was nothing left to take: meals, favors, money, time, trust, and that I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was just done. She didn't argue, she didn't cry, she didn't throw a tantrum, or unleash one of her legendary guilt-laced monologues. She stood up, picked up the worn-out purse she'd placed at her feet, and walked to the door. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't ask again. She just left. I didn't chase after her. I didn't text her the next day to check in. I didn't feel triumphant or bitter or relieved. It felt like watching someone finally touch the bottom of the pool after years of pretending they could float forever. A week later, Jenna called me. She'd heard from our mum. Stephanie had moved back in with our parents. No dramatic announcement, no grand explanations. She just showed up one night with 2 duffel bags and a quiet apology. Apparently, she finally got a job, not at a design firm or a trendy boutique like she used to chase, but at a local home goods store near our childhood neighborhood. A regular job, punch in, punch out. Jenna said she's been quieter lately, less flashy. No more branded bags or curated selfies. No more group messages bragging about exclusive events or VIP passes. And surprisingly, she had started to pay people back, small amounts, slowly, 100 here, 50 there. She sent Jenna $150 with a text that just said, "I know I still owe more." One of our cousins got an unexpected Venmo transfer with no explanation. It wasn't much, it didn't erase everything, but it was something. And coming from Stephanie, it was a seismic shift. I don't know if she's truly changed. Maybe it's just survival mode. Maybe she's just worn out from the exhausting effort of maintaining A facade that finally collapsed under its own weight. Or maybe something profound shifted in her. That night she sat on my couch, realizing there were no more bridges left to cross because she'd already burned them all behind her. But I do know this: she finally hit a wall she couldn't charm her way through.